Okay, I'm here in multiply integers form number 3. You have this chart here that reminds you of the rules. If you're multiplying numbers with the same sign, your answer will be positive. If you're multiplying numbers with different signs, your answer will be negative. All right, so in number 1, you have negative 3 times negative 2. Look at their signs. 3 is negative, 2 is negative. So I would say same signs, positive. I know that 3 times 2 is 6, so my answer is positive 6, or just 6. Now notice in number 2, I am not multiplying. It says 5 minus negative 1. I am subtracting a negative. And if I am subtracting a negative, or if I see two minus signs next to each other, I should, in my mind, think slash slash. And so those negatives become positives, and this really becomes 5 plus positive 1, or just 5 plus 1, which of course would be 6. Number 3, you got negative 6 times 3. Look at their signs. 6 is negative, 3 is positive. So I would say same signs, positive, different signs, negative. And it's going to be negative whatever 6 times 3 is. 6 times 3 is 18, so negative 18. Skip to number 5. I have negative 2 minus 9. Now, notice here, I am subtracting. So I'm going to use my add subtract rules, which tell me that same signs add, keep the sign, different signs subtract, keep the larger. So look at their signs. 2 is negative, 9 is negative, because yes, that minus sign is, yes, a subtraction sign. It's also a negative sign. So same signs add. 2 plus 9 is 11. After I add, I keep the sign. So negative 11. Number 6, Chris owns 10 shares of stock. It decreases in price $3. Write a multiplication expression to find the change in Chris's investment. So if he has 10 shares of stock and the price decreases $3, that means each of these shares of stock also goes down $3. So I could say negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 like 10 times, which is repeated addition, or I know that repeated addition is multiplication. So I'm going to say, I could say 10 shares of stock go down $3 each. So 10 times negative 3. Now, isn't 10 times negative 3 the same thing as negative 3 times 10? It is, right? That is the commutative property of multiplication, which tells us, that property tells us that the order that we multiply does not matter. We're going to get the same product. So we're looking in the list here, the option that says negative 3 times 10, which is that one right there. Negative 3 times 10 would be negative 30, right? So in total, he would have a change of negative 30. Number 8, Luke burns 300 calories in an hour. If he runs for 3 hours, write a multiplication expression to find how many calories Luke burns. So if you're burning calories, we represent that with a negative sign, right? Because they are going away. Those calories are going away. They are, we represent that with a negative sign. So negative 300, that's how many he burns in 1 hour. But if he runs for 3 hours, we could say negative 300 plus negative 300 plus negative 300, right? Which would give us negative 900. But again, we know that repeated addition is the same thing as multiplication. So we can take the amount of calories that he burns in an hour and multiply it by the number of hours, which in this case is 3. So what's negative 300 times 3? Negative 900, right? So which option in the list looks like this? This one right here. Okay, number 10, when we evaluate, there are 3 steps, I would say. Set up, plug in, and evaluate by following order of operations. So the first step is to set up. To set up the problem, we're going to put parentheses wherever the variable is at. Okay, so here's my variable. I'm going to put parentheses right there instead. So let me write negative 2, and then next to it, instead of writing x, I'm going to put parentheses. Okay, that's step 1. I just set it up. Step 2, I plug in. I'm going to plug in what x is equal to. I am told right here that x is negative 2. So I'm going to put negative 2 right in here for x. Okay, so right there. That's step 2. Step 1, I set up by putting parentheses wherever the variable is at. Step 2, I plug in the value of that variable into the expression. Step 3, I evaluate. So I have a negative 2 written right next to another negative 2 in parentheses. I know this is multiplication. So this is negative 2 times negative 2. So I'm going to use my multiply divide rules, which tell me that same signs, my answer is positive, different signs, my answer is negative. So of course, these have the same sign, right? This 2 is negative, this 2 is negative. So I would say same sign's positive, and now 2 times 2 is 4. So my answer is positive 4. Okay, number 12, evaluate this expression. So again, we're going to take this negative 3, we're going to plug it in right there. Now, if I were to ask you, what does 9r mean? You should be able to tell me that 9r means 9 times r. If you have a number written right next to a variable, that is understood to be multiplication. So let's set this problem up. I have 9, and then next to it, I have an r. But instead of writing the r, I'm going to put parentheses, right? This is step 1. I set it up. Step 2, I plug in. So I'm going to plug in what r is equal to. I'm going to plug that in right there. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3, I evaluate by following order of operations. So I have 9 times negative 3. I'm going to use my multiply rules, which tell me same signs add. No, not add. If I'm multiplying, I'm not going to say same signs add. I'm going to say same signs positive, different signs negative. And here I do have different signs, right? 9 is positive, 3 is negative. So my answer is negative, whatever 9 times 3 is. That would be negative 27. Okay, number 13, evaluate this expression, 2 plus 3w, when w is equal to negative 9. So I need to take the negative 9 and put it in right there for w. Okay, so I have 2 plus 3w. Notice again how I am putting parentheses wherever that variable is at. Okay, now after this is step 1, this is set up. I put parentheses where the variable is at. Step 2, I take what w is equal to, which is negative 9, and I put it right here, right where the variable is at. Okay, that's step 2. I plug in. Step 3 is evaluate by following order of operations. Now, order of operations tells me that I should do parentheses first, then exponents, then multiply, divide from left to right, then add and subtract from left to right. So as you can see here, I need to multiply before I add. I cannot add before I multiply. Okay, this is order of operations. So what is really, this is positive 3, right? Positive 3 times negative 9. What is 3 times negative 9? That would be negative 27, right? So I bring the 2 straight down. I have 2, and we said 3 times negative 9 is negative 27. Now I am subtracting, so I'm going to follow add subtract rules. I would say same signs, add and keep the sign, different signs, subtract and keep the larger. So look at their signs. 2 is positive, 27 is negative. So I'm going to say different sign, subtract. 27 minus 2 is 25. After I subtract, I keep the big guy. What is the big guy? If I have 2 positives and 27 negatives, negative is the big guy. I keep its sign in my answer. So my value here is negative 25. That's my answer. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do this one right here, 15. Evaluate this expression, negative 5q minus 3. So step 1, set up. I'm going to rewrite the expression, except wherever there's a variable, I'm going to put parentheses. So I have negative 5. Here's a variable. I'm going to put parentheses instead, minus 3. Okay, so just rewrite the expression, except put parentheses wherever the variable is at. Step 2, plug in. I'm going to plug in what q is equal to. Q is equal to 4. So I'm going to take this 4. I'm going to plug it in right here. That's step 2. Step 3, evaluate by following order of operations. I must multiply before I add or subtract. So right here is my focus bracket. I'm only focused on negative 5 times 4. So what's negative 5 times 4? Well, I'm multiplying, so I'm going to use multiply rules, which tell me same signs positive, different signs negative. Negative 5 is 5, of course, is negative. This 4 is positive. So different signs negative. 5 times 4 is 20. I bring the minus 3 down. Okay, now I have negative 20 minus 3. Now, as you can see, I am subtracting. So I'm going to use add subtract rules, which tell me same signs, add and keep the sign, different signs, subtract, keep the larger. So what are their signs here? 20 is negative, 3 is negative. So I would say same signs, add. 20 plus 3 is 23. After I add, I keep the sign. So negative 23. All right, you finish the rest. And at the very bottom, well, let me point out a couple things here. Product. What is the product? Is the answer to a multiplication problem, right? And at number 19, it says, what is the sum Sum is the answer to an addition problem. So keep that in mind. Okay, so once you submit, view your score. If you miss any, be sure to click Edit Response to fix all the ones that you missed so that eventually you get every problem correct.